Okay, we're on.
Okay.
Okay. So, explain give me your title again and kind of
Okay, I'll do it for
who
so.
are you, who are you on your LinkedIn profile, so to speak?
So I am on my I am Cantor, and I am invested by the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, Debbie Friedman School of Sacred Music, which is the Reform movement, which is the liberal Jewish movement in the United States, of about little over 1 million Jews in North America are affiliated. And so I am a Cantor certified through their education and invested through that. And a cantor is clergy, is a sort of a musical clergy, if you will. We're trained in clergy things, but we have a particular specialization in the music, in the chant, and there is a tradition in Judaism going back thousands of years of chant, both of the sacred texts and of the prayers. And so those prayers have chants that vary by season of the year and time of the day. And so it's actually quite an intricate thing, and even region of the world. So there's quite a lot of flavors of that.
Great, thank you. Welcome, Cantor John, as you told me you like to go by. Um,
Thank you, Professor Gruen.
explain the role of the Passover and especially the Passover Seder. What is it?
So if we go back in biblical history, it it commemorates the Exodus and celebrates the Exodus from Egypt, which is the formative event of the founding of the Jewish nation. We have the mightiest nation on the earth, the Egyptian nation of the time, and we have a people liberated by God from that people under the leadership of Moses coming out from Egypt. That is the formative uh, event and the start of Jewish history as a nation. You can go back to Abraham as the first Jew as a person, and there is a personal history in Genesis, but Exodus starts the history of the people coming out of slavery. And so the that event and the commemoration of that is central to Jewish identity. And the theme of slavery to freedom has become a rallying cry for all enslaved peoples. And significantly, um, over the 2,000 years since the destruction of the Second Temple, Jews have often been persecuted. I wouldn't say enslaved, but significantly persecuted and not free. And so the Seder has become a symbol of that freedom. It is also especially powerful. Rituals with food are especially powerful. Rituals over a meal are especially powerful. It is a celebration of faith, of miracles, of God's hand in freeing us as a people, and our continued connection with God. And it is in modern day also a charge to us to continue that tradition, to continue to fight for freedom, and at a time when we have more freedom and in places where we have freedom, to use that freedom and that power, if you will, to try to give freedom to others, to remember there are always those who are enslaved. And this is particularly as a meal with a lot of ritual and a lot of festivities meant as a family, extended family event, and to bring children up um, into celebrating not just from an intellectual perspective, but from an emotional perspective, from engaging all the senses, right? Sight, sound, taste, um, of freedom and of the journey from slavery to freedom.
So the Passover Seder is an annual event in
Absolutely. It's on the Jewish ritual calendar in the spring, and it celebrates traditionally when the Exodus occurred. It celebrates the coming out from Egypt, the liberation.
and this is an event that happens over a period of days, or is it a single day event? Like I know Hanukkah, for instance, is a period of time. How does Passover fit
So
into this?
Passover as a festival is a festival. Answers in Judaism, when you have an old religion, there are always variations in the answer. So Passover is a 7-day festival in the Bible. Traditionally, outside the land of Israel, where calling the new moon affected festivals, it would be celebrated for 8 days. The Seder occurs traditionally on the first night of Passover, in the idea that you might not get it right or that you want to have more sometime. I mean, also people do it on the second night. night, but so there are two seders, one on the first night, one on the second night, traditionally. Although Jews often celebrate other seders at around that time.
So it's usually considered a single event of a larger scope of days.
Passover is a holiday, an 8-day holiday. The Seder itself occurs on the first or second night, first
Great,
and second
perfect.
nights.
So now I know, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong. The child's song had Gada. Is that
So it is Chad Gadya. So
Had Gadya?
so
Had.
Chad is a form, means one. In Hebrew, one is echad, and shortened into the Aramaic chad is one. And Gad is like a goat, and Yah is a diminutive. So when you say Chad is one and Chad Gad, it would be one goat. Chad Gad Yah is one little goat or one kid.
Great. So thank you for the pronunciation and the explanation of the title. This is a children's song, and I believe it's sung at the end of the Seder.
It is, and it is part of, so there are many levels to Chad Gadya. And on one level, there is quite a lot that is, shall we say, intellectual and expository, and perhaps not so engaging. The Seder is punctuated with songs and with actions and with tastings to try to make this an event suitable for children and family and engaging for all. And so singing is a big part of that, especially singing after meals. It's a Jewish tradition for all kinds of meals to sing. And Chad Gadya is one of a set of songs that are sung at the end of the Passover Seder. It is, shall I transition into sort of what it's about and why it is?
Perfect.
Okay, so if you think of, and it's a more depressing example, but if you think of Ring Around the Rosie or various children's, old children's songs, they often have an origin in a particular event and a particular time, and they were not so, they're not just sitting at one level as a meaningless children's song. Even Rockabye Baby, right? When you think about them, they get a little scary, they get a little deeper and a little tricky. Jewish seders were celebrated throughout the years, and it was in many places at many times a crime to have a seder, right? To do anything Jewish at various times and places. And it was also very, to the extent that you did something, the exact language of the ritual, what was written in a book, needed to be such that if it fell into an inquisitor's hands, it would not look like Jews were doing something that would be interpreted in a bad way. And so Chad Gadya, although it is a children's song, it is interpreted traditionally to represent the history of the world and the battle of nations among nations and the different empires of the nations, the taking over of one by the other. And so if you will, the eating of the animals and the consumption is mapped by the rabbis in history to different nations and different empires swallowing up and taking over one another, with the Chad Gadya, the kid left, being the Jewish nation.
Nice. The clearly the meaning is deep, and I even in my searching online and stuff, I found the theological discussions and debates and papers written on this song are immense. There's tons of views on it, and not going to spend the time getting into the potential theological meanings of this leads to this, which leads to this. But what I do want to kind of wrap up our time together with is thank you for telling us about the Seder, the role of the Passover in the Jewish faith, the Hebrew faith, and also the meaning of this song. But now, for many years, you have sung this song each and every year during the Passover. When you sing this song, what does it mean to you? How does it speak to Cantor Jon personally? Maybe there's a childhood memory or a college memory, or maybe even the last time you sang Had Gadya, it spoke to you somehow. Talk to us about that.
It is, and it's not any of the theological or historical parts of it that speak to me. I know those, and I can explain them. I find the song powerful. These formulaic songs that help us remember, and the Seder is full of them, for children with the repetition, and even for adults with the repetition. And I will confess that when I do it at Seders, we frequently insert animal noises. Like first, and came the dog, woof, that bit the cat, meow, that ate the kid, ma, which is not highly theological, but quite a lot of fun. And I enjoy it because it's the kind of the song teaches itself through its repetition. And so as you start, a room winds up, and where people are after that, where people are when they start that song, sometimes a little tentative, sometimes I have guests who don't know it, we're coming in, and this song in particular, everyone will join in. People who aren't Jewish will often invite at the Seder, people who don't know the song, they may not know, virtually no one knows the Aramaic anymore, but and so we sing it in the English, and we make the noises, and we, if you will, we celebrate it kind of like the woman who swallowed the fly. And what I love is the way it brings everyone into it, just the fun of the spirit and the connection at that level that we celebrate, and we celebrate in the tune and in the song, and that the words, I mean, they aren't explained. I've never seen a Seder that tries to go into all the history of Had Gadya. That would be, but it's just a lot of fun to sing. And so I remember my kids singing it with me. I remember my parents singing it with me. And I think of hundreds and hundreds of years of Seders backward and forward. Everyone's singing that song. And I will say that song in particular, there are two or three that if you ask what song do Jews know, these are one of the couple of songs that they know. And a lot of them are Seder songs, which is wonderful.
Wow. Thank you very much. So this whole discussion has led me to a question and kind of a blind side, had you will, but I know you very well, so I know you can handle a blind side.
Questions are good. There are no bad questions, right?
Would you be willing to sing the song for us in closing?
And what I'm trying to think is, do you want to wait a minute while I grab a guitar to do it with a little bit of accompaniment, or do you want me to just sing it?
I'll pause the tape.
Well, which way do you prefer it?
Let's go with the guitar. That would be fun.
Okay, let me take a second and grab one.
God, God, yeah. God, God, yeah. An only kid, my father bought for 2 zuzim. God, God, yeah. God, God, yeah. Then came the cat that ate the kid my father bought for 2 zuzim. God, God, yeah. God, God, yeah. Last verse. Then came the Holy One, praise be God, and destroyed the angel of death. Who slew the butcher that killed the ox, that drank the water, that quenched the fire, that burned the stick, that beat the dog, that bit the cat, that ate the kid. My father bought for 2 zuzim. God, God, yeah. God, God, yeah.